Hey folks, this is Riker, bringing you a Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls guide to a Crusader Roland set build that is sweeping the world of Sanctuary. Get it? Because Roland uses sweep attack? Yeah, you can unsubscribe now. This build is incredibly powerful and blows anything that Akkarats could have done in the past out of the water. It focuses on using the buffs granted by the Roland set. And in this case, we're focusing on the sweep attack side of things. So your set bonuses make sweep attack reduce the cooldown of your laws and defensive skills by 1 second. Your sweep attack damage is increased by 500%. And every time you hit an enemy with sweep attack, you gain 30% increased attack speed for 3 seconds. And this effect can stack up to 5 times. That translates into a crazy amount of increased attack speed. And this build is really fun to play. Let's take a look at the skills. First off, we have Sweep Attack, Trip Attack. This is your primary attack skill. It deals damage in a nice area in front of you. And the great thing about this rune is that it gives you a chance for crowd control. This gives you more survivability in those greater rifts. Enemies that are stunned are not attacking you. Next, we have Condemn Vacuum. Now, while Trip Attack does have a nice area, we're using Condemn Vacuum as a means of sucking enemies up and bringing them even closer into your range of Sweep Attack. Condemn deals roughly 1,000 damage, but Sweep Attack, with Roland's, is dealing about 3,000 damage per attack. And with that attack speed buff, it's attacking very often. So Condemn's 1,000 damage on a 15-second cooldown isn't really appreciable, but we're using it for that Vacuum rune. This really helps with your efficiency. You want Sweep Attack to be hitting as many enemies as possible. First off, for reasons of time and resource efficiency, but for other reasons that we will get to as well. Next, we have Iron Skin, Steel Skin. This is a purely defensive option, and Roland's makes Sweep Attack reduce the cooldown on it. So you'll be able to pop this a lot more often than 30 seconds. In the old Crusader meta, with the Akan set, it was permanent Akkarat's champion that would give you the survivability you needed and the cooldown reduction you needed. Roland's offers a different avenue of doing this. So you're not going to have 100% uptime on Iron Skin, but you will be able to have it when you need it. Or rather, you'll have to manage when you use it and use it strategically. Next, we have Akkarat's champion, Prophet. This is for those big fights, buffs your damage, your wrath generation, and your toughness, and gives you a free revive if you die. Next, we have Laws of Valor, Unstoppable Force. The passive ability grants you faster attack speed, and the active ability gives you even more attack speed, but more importantly reduces the wrath cost of your sweeping wind. And this is another skill whose cooldown will be reduced by the Roland set. Then we have Steed Charge, Draw, and Quarter. As you're going through a greater rift, because you want to be maximizing the number of enemies that you're hitting, you're sometimes going to want to use your Steed Charge to pull enemies along with you. Bring them forward, bring them into another group of enemies, so that again, you're getting the most out of every sweep attack. And Steed Charge also remains a defensive option, of course, but that rune Drawn Quarter really gives you a lot of utility if you're able to make clever use of it. For our passives, we have Finery. That's just a flat damage and toughness boost. Holy Cause makes you deal 10% more damage. Heavenly Strength allows you to wield a two-handed weapon in one hand, which we need to do for this build. And Indestructible gives you that free res. Onto our gear. First off, you need all 6 pieces of Roland's set. On your shoulders, you want defensive stats plus cooldown reduction. On your helm, ideally you want strength, critical hit damage, sweep attack damage, and a diamond. For your amulet, there's no mandatory amulet, but really the best in slot would be a Mara's. Mara's will make you immune to poison damage and let you be healed by poison damage. And if you're trying to push higher greater rifts, you'll notice that the majority of Rift Guardians deal poison damage. So that makes this the most useful of the elemental resistance amulets. That said, getting one-shot by Jailer sucks, so I wouldn't say no to a Countess Julia's. The Zephyrian amulet will make you immune to lightning. The Flavor of Time allows you to gain an additional stat on your amulet. So while your ideal stats are normally lightning damage, critical hit damage, and critical hit chance, or barring that, strength, crit, and crit, the Flavor of Time allows you to gain an additional stat, in which case you'd want lightning, crit, crit, and cooldown. For your gloves, you want strength, crit, crit, and then for your last stat, most people go with vitality, but if you want, you can try subbing that out for cooldown reduction or even attack speed. For your chest, you want all defensive stats, Vitality and percent life are good choices. You can sub out percent life for reduced damage from elites, or you can even reroll one of your secondaries for one of those reduced damage affixes. For your wrists, you want Ancient Parthen Defenders. If you want to push the highest Greater Rifts, these are non-negotiable. As a special property, each stunned enemy around you reduces your damage taken. What does Trip Attack do? It's going to be stunning enemies. We need this for survivability. And you want the standard loadout of stats, elemental damage, strength, vitality, and critical hit chance. For your rings, you're going to want a Convention of Elements. Now what this does is grant up to 200% increased damage to a single element for 4 seconds. And this effect rotates through the elements available to your class. So as a Crusader, that's going to be fire, holy, lightning, and physical. So you might ask, what good is a buff that is only up a quarter of the time? 4 elements, our main attack power is lightning based, so we're only gaining that 200% bonus a quarter of the time. Well, if you average that out over the course of a run, a 200% bonus a quarter of the time works out to a 50% bonus all the time. Basically, this just means that the Convention of Elements gives you a 50% buff to your lightning damage. And then the other ring that you'll want is a Unity. You want to go with the double Unity setup, one for yourself, one for your follower, and the follower token that makes them immune to death. This will double your toughness. And of course, if you're playing multiplayer, you do not want to use your Unity, in which case swapping out to a Stone of Jordan with the appropriate element is a good option. As you can see, I like to get ballsy with Focus and Restraint, because I like to spec for pure glass cannon, and the double damage buff that Focus and Restraint give is just too much for me to pass up. When I do that though, I swap out Condemn for Justice, Sword of Justice. This gives me a little bit of movement speed, but really we're just using this to proc Focus and Restraint, since you need to use a resource generator, and the ability to have a ranged attack that also grants a bit of move speed is a nice bonus. Of course, in this case, we are relying on our teammates to bunch up our enemies. But that's just the setup I use. I'm not advocating that you use this as well. It's probably not optimal. The ideal stats on a Convention of Elements: Strength, Crit Chance, Crit Damage. Ideal stats on a Unity: Crit Damage, Crit Chance, Elite Damage. For your belt, you want Thunder God's Vigor. This gives us a nice lightning buff. For our pants, we need Rolands with pure defensive stats. For our boots, we want Rolands. Strength, Vitality, All Resist, and Sweep Attack Damage. Now you only want to have All Resist on there if you can get your move speed up to 25% through other means. Or in our case, that's basically only through Paragon points. If you can't get full move speed, then you're going to want to get move speed on your boots. Then the last 2 items that you need to complete this build, the Golden Flents. Now as you can see, I don't even have an Ancient Golden Flents, and my gear is altogether suboptimal, and I very easily handled a level 45 Grift, with little to no practice with this build. This build is a wrecking ball. Your Golden Flents make Sweep Attack restore Wrath for each enemy hit. This is part of the reason why we want to be hitting as many enemies as possible with it. If you just Sweep Attack against a single enemy, as in the case of a Rift Guardian, you're going to find yourself running out of Wrath very quickly. Ideal stats are Strength, percent damage, and then generally life per hit is the favored next option, but you can always go with something else. Now for your offhand, you need a Denial, and this further makes you want to be attacking as many enemies as possible. Each enemy hit by Sweep Attack increases the damage of your next Sweep Attack by up to 40%, and this stacks up to 5 times, so we could be talking up to 200% additional damage. That means triple damage. Ideal stats for your Denial are Strength, Vitality, Crit Chance, and then either life percent, damage versus elites, or a socket, which you'll use to put a ruby in. And that's going to combine well with our Finery passive. Now, one trick for getting a Denial, it is not a Crusader shield. So grab your level 70 Barbarian and gamble at Kadalo with your Barbarian. This is going to limit the pool of potential shields that you can get. You have a greater chance of gambling a Denial with a Barbarian than a Crusader. As for your legendary gems, you definitely need a Bane of the Trapped. That gives you a huge damage bonus at all times once it's level 25. You'll also want Teguk. Your stacks will build up fast because you cast Sweep Attack very quickly. And then for your last gem, you have a bit of an option. You can go with Bane of the Powerful if you want to be a little more offensive, or if you want to opt for defense, you can go with Esoteric Alteration, or even Molten Wildebeest Gizzard. That wraps up this guide. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment letting me know what your favorite Crusader build has been throughout history. Is it Sweep Roland? Is it Bash Roland? Is it one of the many old Akan sets? Let me know in the comments. Check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this one, share with friends, hit like, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders.
I wish I could do that.